friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about homemade diaper cream and give you a few different ideas of the ways you can blend it up. It can be as simple as plain coconut oil, or you can add some good healing essential oils according to your child and what is safest for them, or you can really go all out and add a bunch of stuff to it. So it's going to be all dependent on you. So let me start off by saying that our youngest grandson, Jace, he has a lot more sensitive skin than Jackson had. He's a little more like his dad was. Justin he had more sensitive skin, so I had to be more careful with him. And so what we found with him, not even just in his diaper area, but with his armpits, especially when he was a newborn, we had to really keep up on them. We had to keep them very clean, and constantly put something on them to keep them from getting red, because he was always wanting to hold his arms tight like this for like a long time after he was born. It took him a while before he was able to actually finally start spreading his arms around and felt comfortable with that. But the problem was it would cause his armpits to get infected if we didn't clean them well every single day, and then apply something like coconut oil or some kind of starch to keep them dried out well. And we found that switching off between the two was quite helpful, but especially the coconut oil. So one thing about coconut oil on its own is that it is a naturally antifungal, antibacterial. It's very soothing. It's very, very healing. And so it's especially good when we're talking about using on sensitive skin, especially in the diaper area, armpits, and whatever. In that case, I do recommend going with a virgin coconut oil rather than one that has been refined, because that's where you're going to have most of the benefits. And then eventually I started adding just a couple of drops of lavender oil when I'd use that on him, and that was very soothing to him, I noticed, and just added an extra little boost at helping to keep those areas from getting inflamed. And anytime now, it's not a daily thing, but every now and then he gets a little bit red in the diaper area, and I'll just put the coconut oil with the lavender in there, and it just right away, it just seems to heal it right up. But I decided for this video to look up a few other ideas and recipes that people do. And so I did write down a few, and I put them in parts. I know for sure I'm going to link to at least one website that I recommend for anyone who has grandbabies, little children. Wellness Mama is an excellent place. I've been following Katie there for years. And in fact, that's where I got my original recipe for making my homemade mascara, which I've been making and wearing ever since. I just added my own tweaks. And if you'd like to see my recipe, I'll put that in the description box down below. And she has all kinds of great recipes there. So a lot of it's for babies, a lot of it's for children, but a lot of it's just anything else for anyone who wants to be as healthy and natural as possible. So anyway, she does have a diaper cream recipe over there. So I did mix this one up yesterday. What this particular blend is 2 parts coconut oil, 1 part shea butter, and 1 part bentonite clay. And so to make this right here equals about a 1/2 cup. And I went ahead and weighed the ingredients out in this case, but you can also measure them out in amounts like 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, whatever. I'll talk about that more in a bit. But in this case, what I did was I weighed out the coconut oil in 2 parts. So 2 ounces of coconut oil, 1 ounce of shea butter, and then I kind of played around with the powder a little bit. I tried measuring it first, and then I tried weighing it, and I found out the measurement and the weight for the bentonite clay came out to be about the same. I put the fats in a measuring cup and then went ahead and melted those down slowly. You know, you don't want to destroy the benefits, especially of the coconut oil and the shea butter. You know, so just doing a gentle warm through is going to be the best until they were fully melted. Then I went ahead and added the bentonite clay. As you can see, a lot of the clay settled on the bottom because it was kind of in a hurry. It's good as it's setting up that you constantly go back and stir it, and I should have done that. But at any rate, I did try using it on him yesterday, and it seemed like it spread pretty good. Of course, I'm working off the top where there's less clay in it. My concern is adding the bentonite clay might make it too hard to spread, but as you can see, it melts at 76 degrees, and your body temperature is warmer than that, so it melts easily, and it made it easy enough to spread. I did also add a few drops of the lavender essential oil to that. Now, before anyone says anything, I know that a few years back there was some study done on, oh, lavender oil can make little boys grow breasts. Well, that's not true. And if you actually look, and because I did some deeper research into that, you can find some of that over on the NIH, but it's not accurate. If you look deeper and find out what the study was, it was actually done. It was only on 3 little boys. All 3 of them were in the higher weight percentile, so they were overweight anyway. And here was the big thing, is that even though the claim was the products that they were using had pure lavender essential oil in it, when they did some tracing back to the brand and then looked at what they were putting in there, it was actually synthetic. It wasn't natural lavender oil. And everything else I found on pure natural lavender essential oil has shown opposite. It's shown that it's very safe for babies, and that also includes tea tree oil. So no, it will not feminize your little boys. But I do know that the lavender especially, not only is it just very soothing to the skin, it's also just the smell of it's very calming. So if they're fussy in any way, can be a good option. So you're using it, they're smelling it, that's going to help calm them down. So anyway, just, to something this size, just a few drops. But now let me go ahead and read off some other ideas and measurements that were used, because I found a wide array of measurements. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm reading this to you in parts. And a lot of people get a little confused about how parts work, but really it's actually simpler than giving you precise measurements, because it makes it easier for you to adjust the recipe to the amount you're going to make. So it's a lot easier to think in parts. So for example, as I'm reading this, let's say if you're wanting to make a real small amount, maybe each part stands for 1 tablespoon. So 2 parts would be 2 tablespoons, one part would be 1 tablespoon. Maybe you want to make a bigger batch. Maybe you want each part to be a 1/4 cup. So you could do 2 1/4 cups, which would be a 1/2 cup, and then a 1/4 cup and a 1/4 cup of whatever the ingredient is. So I'm also going to put this in text so that you can see it both here, and I'll try to remember to type it up and also put it in the description box down below so you can see how this little chart, how I have it laid out. So one recipe for its ingredients, instead of like I did with 2 parts coconut oil and 1 part shea butter, they had it reversed. So they had 2 parts shea butter, 1 part coconut oil, and then 1 part of the bentonite clay. Then there was the recipe I used where it was the 1 part shea butter, 2 parts of the coconut oil, and 1 part bentonite clay. And then in another recipe, they actually used equal amounts of shea butter. And I had to write it out as 4 parts shea butter and 4 parts coconut oil, because the amounts of bentonite clay and beeswax they used was 1 part of each. So in this case, let's say you're using a 1/4 cup. You would have 4 parts would actually, if you're using 1/4 cups, would equal 1 cup. This would make quite a bit, by the way. So you'd have 1 cup shea butter, 1 cup coconut oil, and then a 1/4 cup of bentonite clay and a 1/4 cup of beeswax. It's all going to depend on you. And the reason the parts increased for the shea butter and coconut oil in comparison to the bentonite clay and beeswax is because the beeswax kind of thicken it up quite a bit. And you got to consider that. Now, let me explain why I decided to go with the 2 parts coconut oil and 1 part shea butter. Well, our house tends to be pretty chilly anyway, especially this time of the year, but especially in the other room where I keep all the changing equipment stuff. Now, on really cold days when it's just freezing in there, I change the babies by the wood stove so they're a little bit warmer. But anyway, the diaper cream typically stays in there, and so I need it to be something that I can melt quickly, otherwise it's too hard and hard to use. So if I was to use something with beeswax in it, it would just set up too hard. And so I decided it would be best in this case to go with the higher ratio of coconut oil to shea butter. So that's something to consider. If where you're at, if your house stays warmer, then you'd be better off going with the higher ratio of shea butter, or even using the combination here, like the last one where it had the beeswax. Now, When I make my skin cream or my healing salve, my ratios are even more different than that. And I did find, I tried my healing salve on Jace, and that worked really well too. Now that one does have beeswax in it. So that one would be 2 parts coconut oil, 2 parts infused oil, 1 part shea butter, 1 part beeswax. You can find my recipes on both the healing salve and the skin cream as well. And then you can add whatever essential oils you find best, but I'll link to both of those down below if you're wanting to use an infused oil that you've made yourself out of some healing herbs. The great thing about any of these is they can be good for anyone. It doesn't just have to be a diaper cream. The bentonite clay was a new idea to me for this. I use bentonite clay and I always have some on hand, but I hadn't thought of it as using in the diaper cream. But if you don't have bentonite clay, a couple other options would be adding some kind of starch in place of the bentonite clay, because the starch is helpful at absorbing moisture and getting it away from the skin. So we know the old-fashioned way was using cornstarch, was a real common thing that people would use in diapers to help keep babies drier. But I tend to shy away from cornstarch these days because, you know, it might be a little harder to find a good organic non-GMO cornstarch, and some people have corn allergies that could be problematic. So there's other types of starches you can use. And as such, I always keep tapioca starch, as you can see right here in the Anthony's, and arrowroot powder on hand. They're all similar. They have the same kind of texture. You know how cornstarch is, when that smooth texture, and yet you can kind of makes a crunchy type sound when you squish it just right. That's what these do. And so you could use that in place of the bentonite clay in any of these recipes if you want. Either one, I do recommend either one of those two. And then as far as where to get some of this stuff, now the coconut oils you can see I get from Costco. I actually order it online. And then like the bentonite clay here, now this is my new favorite place for getting items like this. They do sell shea butter there, but I'm still got to work through the shea butter I have, which is quite a bit. And then I'm going to start buying my shea butter from them. And that's halal every day. I actually have an affiliate with them, so I'll be putting the affiliate link in the description box down below. I think you get 15% off your order if you go through that link, which can be pretty considerable. But anyway, yeah, so now I'm getting my bentonite clay from them. The last bentonite clay I bought was actually in granules, and I didn't realize it, which was a real pain, because now you have to actually powder it up in your blender before you use it, where this is a nice fine powder and easy to use. So I do highly recommend that. I also have beeswax and other such ingredients. But anyway, I was going to say this is also where I get my black seed oil. They're the only brand so far I've ever bought black seed oil, and I've been very happy with it. So if you're looking for a place to buy ingredients like this to make your own skin cream, diaper cream, whatever, Halal Every Day is a great place. They also sell various other types of clays, like kaolin clay, which is, if you're using it as a clay mask, it's a lot more gentle than bentonite clay, which can be a little harsh and very drying. Again, don't forget to check out the link to Wellness Mama down below, as well as the chart I'll be putting on the various ratios for making a diaper cream that will suit you. And then you don't have to put essential oils in them at all. You can leave those out. And whatever essential oil you think to use, make sure it's not something your baby's going to be allergic to, and always make sure it's something that is safe for babies anyway. And I did, before I even did any of this, I had done my research on the lavender oil and the tea tree oil to make sure they were safe for babies before I used any of it on my grandson. So that goes for any others. Even if you think it's going to be safe, I would still recommend checking it out and make sure. You can usually get online, essential oils, safest essential oils for babies. And just put that in your browser and you'll pull up all kinds of links that will give you a list of essential oils that are safe. But other than that, you can leave them out. Again, as I said, coconut oil just by itself is actually really good. If you feel like you need the extras, then yes, you can add those in if you choose. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot to say, some people do use zinc oxide. However, a lot of people, if they're cloth diapering, they find that better to stay away from, because the zinc oxide could put a barrier on the diaper that will prevent it from actually soaking up the moisture, and then thus keeping the moisture on the baby's skin. So just some things to consider. I personally have seen no need for zinc oxide. But anyway, it's going to be all entirely up to you and what your child needs. Oh, and I just remembered I have several other baby related videos that, since we have grandbabies now, I've been doing these. And I have those in one playlist. If you'd like to just see some more information on baby related things, I'll put that full playlist in the description box down below. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.